Southern California, good evening, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into the world of Southern California sports, such as the Lakers. They're going in the wrong direction, as they're now one loss away from seeing the end of their season. It's looking like they had a great run, but unless they can pull off a miracle, it's pretty much the end of the road for them. LAFC is doing good, as they're the best team in the Western Conference. How about that? As for little brother in the LA Galaxy, they're the worst team in the MLS. How the mighty have fallen for the Galaxy. And the Chargers signed Nick Williams. Can he help bolster the defensive line for the Chargers? Or is this pretty much a meh signing? Also, in terms of the MLB, the Dodgers had a little bit of a rough series against the Cardinals of all teams. Also, we shall see what happens with the Angels and Padres too. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Sunday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 134 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let's get on into it. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter, TikTok, and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page for those that still use the Book of Faces. All you just gotta do is type in the word IE, then sports, then radio in the search bar. You see our logo. Just click on it, like us, and follow us, and then boom, that's how you're able to like us and follow us on Facebook. We also have a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and once you go there, you'll see a Patreon link at the top, and if you choose to do so, click on the Patreon link, and donations will start out at $5 a month if you choose to donate. This will get you a shout-out from all of our shows, including this show, and higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with Larry B. Because for the past 9 years and counting, because 6 days ago, IE Sports Radio just turned 9 years old, and although we are in a new week, I feel this is the correct way. This has to be the SoCal Supreme Sports Show episode to celebrate IE Sports Radio turning 9. But for the past 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans, and with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Key to the Gate, Marcus Losgrid, and a donor that wishes to remain anonymous. Alright, with all that said and done, let us begin. Larry B is already in the chat room. He actually makes note of something I actually want to discuss. He says, amazing interviews and great volleyball. What an afternoon you had. Okay, so that's kind of where I was this weekend. It wasn't just this afternoon, it was this weekend, as the AVP had which is a pro beach volleyball league, had a tournament in Huntington Beach, which it's not every day I get to attend a AVP tournament. So I kind of had to attend that and pretty much get interviews and check out the action. Basically, I'll be talking about a whole lot more of that on Set Point tomorrow, but I might as well just go over who won the tournament. On the men's side, it was Andy Benish and Miles Partain. Fun fact, those two are actually USC and UCLA. Andy Benish is a USC alum, while Miles Partain is a UCLA alum. So good on those two for winning their first AVP tournament for this season. And then the winner on the women's side was Sarah Hughes and Kelly Chang, which won the tournament last year. So good job to them. I'll be discussing more of that tomorrow. So I do apologize if I've kind of been a little absent the past couple days, but it is what it is. I can assure you all that this Friday, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show will be back on its normal time, just because life has been a little bit of a whirlwind for me, but it's all good. Anyway, Larry B also makes note of something else I'm about to discuss. Oh yeah, and Lakers suck, 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 Lakers suck! Which is totally understandable. Might as well just get on into it. Yeah, the Lakers have been laying an egg, to say the least. They are down 3-0 against the Denver Nuggets and in the Western Conference Finals. And I'm just going to be honest, it feels like when the Lakers made it to the Western Conference, I just feel like they said, all right, we made the Western Conference Finals. Let's just kick back, relax, and just put ourselves in cruise control and just not give a crap less. In all seriousness, I mean, they didn't play bad the first game. Like, they were down 21, and then they got within 3, but then they still lost, which is... everyone was still hailing like the Lakers still won, which is... I just couldn't believe it. Yeah. So, in all honesty, the Lakers still lost, because the two letters in the NBA that matter in terms of games are W and L. There's no maybe, there's no prize for second place, there's no silver lining. All that matters is W and L, win or lose, especially in the playoffs. Like, there is no silver lining, there is no, oh, the Lakers almost came back. It's either you won or you lost. There's no, oh, this team was so close to coming back. So the Lakers lost Game 1, 132 to 126, despite Anthony Davis scoring 40 points. It was just unfortunate, just because Anthony Davis had himself quite a phenomenal game, even though he whiffed on 9 field goals. And Austin Reeves had himself a solid game as well. The only thing that was weighed down was LeBron whiffing on 4 threes. Like, the first 2 games, LeBron James was a whopping I want to say he was like 1 of 20 from downtown, which is extremely concerning. Everything was not going in for LeBron in terms of the perimeter, and I just couldn't understand. And in Game 2, the Lakers lost to the Nuggets 108 to 103. In this game, the Lakers they were not down 20 plus, but they were just pooping the bed. They just couldn't do it. And they allowed Jamal Murray to cook. He had 37 points in that game, which was just bad. It was just straight up bad, dude. Jamal Murray just cooked them. Even when Nikola Jokic didn't even have 30, he still had a triple-double. He messed around and got a triple-double, just like Ice Cube once said. So the Lakers were down 0-2. At that point, I wasn't even concerned. They only lost by like 2 scores. So I was thinking, okay, maybe the Lakers do have a chance. And as the old saying goes, the series does not start until a team wins on the road. And the Lakers, yesterday, they played against the Nuggets at the Crypto.com Arena. Unfortunately, they lost to the Nuggets 119-108. And in the first half alone, Jamal Murray had 30 points. Absolutely disappointing. In the end, he finished with 37, which is a miracle he didn't even have more. So, I just could not believe it. Mike says, Jokic is doing to the Lakers what Dirk did to the Heat back in 2010. I agree. I definitely agree. Jokic wants that ring, and Denver wants the relevancy. And honestly, I think Denver wants a little payback for the bubble. Fun fact, I'm seeing the chat room of the Celtics and Heat. I know this is the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, not the Miami Sports Show or the Boston Sports Show or the Denver Sports Show, but all four teams that are currently in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals, or the NBA's Final Four, were actually in the bubble Western and Eastern Conference Finals back in 2020. So that's kind of your Snapple fun fact of the day. Anyway, back to the matchup at hand between the Lakers and the Nuggets. Yeah, it's looking like the Lakers are pretty much done. And tomorrow the two teams play at the Crypto.com Arena. It's pretty much win or go home for the Lakers. No NBA team has come back from a 3-0 deficit. That's the key thing right there. And unfortunately, I would be very surprised if the Lakers did come back. I will say this about the Lakers: I'll be at peace if the Lakers straight up. If the Lakers lose, I will still be at peace. If they somehow, hence the word somehow, manage to do the unthinkable and they pull off a reverse sweep and they win 4 straight, then so be it. But it was a great run for the Lakers. You got to remember, the Lakers started off 0-5. They were 2-10 at one point, and I even told this to a security guard who was also a Laker fan. And he and I basically chatted it up. He said he was disappointed just as much as I was when the Lakers lost. And he thought the Lakers were playing tonight. But I told him, nah, they're playing tomorrow. So you've got one day before the Lakers have to possibly face Judgment Day. But for the Lakers, you got to remember, they started 0-5, 2-10. At the All-Star break, they had less than a 1% chance to make the playoffs. Then Rob Pelinka had to dig in his bag of tricks and go after certain players, and they also had to deal away Russell Westbrook. The Lakers eventually had to play in the play-in game, win that game. They had to go against the number 2 seed Memphis Grizzlies, beat those guys. They had to face the reigning champion Golden State Warriors, beat those guys in 6, and then they're playing the number 1 seed. So, honestly, even if the Lakers lose, I will be at peace knowing the Lakers at least defied all odds to begin the season. And you also got to remember the Lakers finished dead last in their division. They finished dead last in the Pacific Division. Now that stat is not really all that great because the Pacific Division was stacked. The Kings were good. The Clippers were in the middle of the pack. The Warriors were right below the Clippers. The Suns were ahead of the Clippers, but below the Kings, and the Lakers were dead last. So, for me, if the Lakers do lose tomorrow and their season does end, I will just raise my glass and just give a nice cheers to them on a great season. But if they win tomorrow, then at least they're not going to get swept. But here's the thing. The longer they're still in the series, the more dangerous they are. I would be shocked, however, if they just manage to pull off. Well, even if they win tomorrow, they have to go to Denver, win there, then they have to go back to the Crypto.com Arena on Friday, win that game, and then Game 7 would be next Sunday. At Denver, by the way. So they'd have to do all of that, and then in the end, if they were to do that, they'd get the winner of Boston-Miami. But in all seriousness, if the Lakers get their goose cooked tomorrow on national TV, I will be at peace with it, and I will just be happy with it. What I can't stand is other teams' fan bases, like Warriors fans, just being happy for Denver and jumping on the Denver bandwagon, and just being like, haha, Lakers are done for. It's like, well, what? And luckily, I'm holding back. I'm holding my tongue back so I don't say, well, what are the Warriors doing right now? And this goes double for Marcellus Wiley, aka King Clipper, who is saying we're saving your seats in Cancun. Larry says, "Who are the Warriors? The Golden State Warriors." But I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors fans. I'm talking about Golden State Warriors fans on Twitter who's like running their mouths and saying, "Oh, the Lakers are just terrible." It's like, well, didn't those terrible Lakers beat you guys in the conference semis? And again, that goes double for Marcellus Wiley, who's running his mouth saying the Clippers are saving the Lakers' seats in Cancun. Larry is funny in the chat room. He says, "Who are the Warriors fans?" I think I'm getting it now, Larry. I think I'm starting to understand what he's getting at. But in all honesty, as a Laker fan, I'll just be at peace when the Lakers season, if the Lakers season comes to an end. But if it still continues up until the NBA Finals, so be it. And yes, there it is. Larry just put in the chat room, the Warriors have fans. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. I now officially get it. That was the joke, and I had a feeling he was referring to that. So, okay, and I guess that's pretty much that for the Lakers right there, and all that's pretty much going on. Again, it's rather impressive that they've gotten this far. I said at first that I didn't think that they would even get past the first round with that effort against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the play-in round. And then when they got past the Grizzlies, even though the Grizzlies were running their mouths like the snot-nosed brats they are, the Warriors eventually got humbled, and eventually they got dismissed in 6. So there's that right there. But overall, I'm happy for the Lakers, even though their season's about to end. At least I won't have to deal with the drama and having the drama and the whole slandering of the Lakers. If the Lakers are going down, we're taking everybody with us. Anyway, all right. So that is that for the Lakers, and this Friday we will see if the Lakers are still alive or if we'll be mourning their season. But we'll see. All right. So that's that for them. Let's jump on into some MLS action, as we had some MLS, not just this past weekend, but also midweek, which was quite interesting. So the LAFC and LA Galaxy are going 2 different directions. The Galaxy are actually going south, and they're going the wrong way to Loserville, while LAFC is going into relevancy land. So yesterday they beat San Jose 2-1, and believe it or not, they actually needed a very, very late goal in extra time off of a penalty kick. So Stip Buke scored in the 3rd minute, and it was 1-0 at the end of the first half. It looked like this was going to be one of those classic games. And then San Jose scores 7 minutes into the second half, courtesy of Miguel Trauco. So it's 1-1, and then 90 minutes is not enough, so extra time is added, and then LAFC draws a penalty kick, and then Carlos Vela, being the very, very talented player that he is, nails the penalty kick, and believe it or not, that was in the 5th minute of added time, and that was pretty much the golden goal right there. It was pretty much, if he makes this goal, LAFC wins. If he misses this goal, it's a tie. And he just said, I ain't going to have no tie. So, San Jose, I'm sorry, but LAFC has to beat you. Payback for what you did a few weeks ago. So, Kiss it, boy. I'm never going to say that ever again. Yeah, so believe it or not, a few weeks ago, if not 2 weeks ago, LAFC actually lost to San Jose at San Jose 2-1. Now the shoe is on the other foot. On Wednesday, however, this was quite the stunning result. LAFC actually lost to Sporting KC, they didn't lose to Sporting KC. They tied with Sporting KC 1-1. Dennis Bouanga scored in the 13th minute for LAFC, while Sporting KC's Johnny Russell scored in the 20th minute. And then after that, that was that. So, believe it or not, that result was actually the first team Sporting KC became the first team to win a point at Los Angeles FC Stadium. So, I guess LAFC's new home is no longer Bank of California Stadium. It's now Los Angeles FC Stadium, which I think that's not a good... I don't think that's a good name. I like Bank of California Stadium. Whoever names these stadiums or these arenas needs to be fired. I swear to God. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Anyway, but these names are so bad. Anyway, so yeah, Sporting KC should be quite proud of themselves. They became the first team this season to earn a point at LAFC this season. So I guess that's good for them. It is what it is. So let's get this straight. LAFC beat one of the best teams in the Western Conference yesterday, but they couldn't beat one of the worst teams in the Western Conference prior to that. It must have been maybe jet lag from LAFC after their road trip to Real Salt Lake. It's one of those weird games, but it is what it is, and it's a win, and it's not a loss to Sporting KC, because that would have been so embarrassing. Anyway, so for LAFC, their next game is actually not an MLS game. They actually play in the U.S. Open Cup on Tuesday, and their next game is actually against a familiar foe in none other than the LA Galaxy. So it's not going to count as an MLS game. It's a U.S. Open Cup game. It's going to be at... It's going to be at BMO Stadium. So it's basically at LAFC. So it's this new stadium, and it's it's at LAFC, and now LAFC is going to host, and El Tráfico is going to be popping, and it's going to be a very, very extraordinary event for a U.S. Open Cup game. So I want to say LAFC's matchup against Atlanta has been postponed, as LAFC's been partaking in a lot of tournaments. In addition to playing in the U.S. Open Cup, they've also got the CONCACAF Finals against Lyon. They've got the first two legs that they have to scratch. They haven't even scratched the surface on the first leg. That's going to be on May 31st, that's the first leg, and then the second leg is on June 4th, which is a Sunday, and we will see what happens with that matchup. So I imagine LAFC has to postpone that matchup against Atlanta just because LAFC doesn't want to be at a disadvantage just because that's too many games. But let's be honest. I don't think anyone predicted LAFC to be in the CONCACAF Finals. I mean, I know LAFC is really good, even though they've lost quite a number of players like Gareth Bale to retirement and whatnot. But I've never in my life seen LAFC doing so great in the CONCACAF tournament. It's just surprising. And LAFC is doing so good. They're now the best team in the Western Conference. They only have one loss, which was to San Jose. And there is no shame in losing to San Jose because they're actually fifth in the Western Conference. Now, if this were last year, maybe we could say that losing to San Jose has some shame. But there's no shame in losing to San Jose. And even if LAFC doesn't win the CONCACAF Finals, which if they do win the CONCACAF Finals, awesome. There's no shame in losing that as well. And even if for some odd reason LAFC loses to the Galaxy, which I'd be shocked if that happens, but you never know with rivalry games, it doesn't count toward the MLS record. And it's just a sigh of relief of LAFC not having to partake in another tournament, and then they don't have to continue on with the tournament, and they can just focus on MLS play and defending their MLS Cup. Now for the LA Galaxy, it has just not been smooth sailing for the Galaxy. They have been it's been rather treacherous for them. I will give them credit for their win last Sunday against San Jose. They won 2-1, which was quite impressive. So good on them for beating the San Jose Quakes. But they did lose to Columbus. They lost 2-0. The Columbus Crew beat them at Columbus. And then yesterday they lost to DC United 3-0. Oh my good golly gracious. That is atrocious. It's been so bad for the Galaxy. They are now the worst team in the league. It's so bad. They are 2-8-3. 2 wins, 8 losses, 3 draws. It's so bad they've even surpassed Toronto for worst team in the league. It's so terrible. This team went from playoff team last year to getting to the Western Conference semis to now basically being the bottom dweller of the MLS entirely. It's one thing to be the worst team in your conference, but it's another thing to be the worst team in the league. It's just so sad, and that's why Klein has to pretty much sell the team and just basically, Klein, you're killing us, Smalls. It's just so bad. And if I were Galaxy fans, I would just basically continue. I don't know if I would even attend this game, let alone protest, because you're basically supporting Galaxy, even though you're supporting them at Big Brother. Really? So their next game, just like LAFC, they play in the U.S. Open Cup, where they play at LAFC, which, again, rivalry game, and they're playing the best team of the Western Conference. It's the worst team of the Western Conference versus the best team in Galaxy versus LAFC. Unlike the LA Galaxy, they're not playing in the CONCACAF tournament, because let's be honest, if they were entered in that, they'd probably get waxed in the first round. It would be so bad they wouldn't even need the second leg. But their next game for the Galaxy is on Saturday at home against Charlotte at Dignity Health Sports Park, a name that I actually remember off the top of my head. Fun fact, that used to be known as the StubHub Center. Don't ask how I remember that, but I just do. Anyway, so Charlotte is pretty much on the outside looking in terms of the Eastern Conference. I will be honest, I feel this is winnable for the Galaxy, but they're just so down the road in terms of the Western Conference. It's like there's no light. I mean, they could only go up from here on out, but it feels like there's no light at the end of this tunnel. It's so disappointing for the Galaxy. It's just very concerning. So we'll see what happens with the Galaxy going forward. I imagine this is going to be quite the... but for right now, they have to play... Their focus is on LAFC. And honestly, even if the Galaxy win, let's be honest, are they even going to put up a fight in the quarterfinals? No matter who they get, are they even going to be a fight for anyone in the quarterfinals? I don't think so. The only reason why they even have a shot against LAFC is because it's a rivalry game, and there's so much on the line for them in terms of pride. Other than that, I would pick LAFC in a heartbeat. But we'll see what happens on Tuesday. 7:30 p.m. Pacific time is the start for that matchup. And all in all, let's hope that the LA Galaxy don't suck too terribly. So there's that right there. All right, we're going to jump to some college softball. And oh boy. This is basically a nightmare right here. I can't even hold back on this. So we all think that the LA Galaxy being so horrible in the MLS is a nightmare. UCLA being the number 2 seed in the NCAA tournament is really good, right? Well, I hate to break it to you, Bruin fans, but let's just say their tournament run ended a lot sooner than expected, and they're about to come home a lot sooner than normal. So the Bruins, well, they had a lot of high expectations in this tournament, and honestly, I feel that they might have. I feel that they actually had a good shot at doing some damage. Like, I'm no expert on NCAA softball, but I know that UCLA is so good every single year. And then I also saw that they were the number 2 seed, and I'm thinking, okay, well, UCLA should be at least a Final Four team, if not an Elite 8 team. Well, unfortunately, in the first round on Friday, they got humbled in a big way as they got beaten by GCU, or Grand Canyon, 3-2. Now, I did hear that UCLA has one player losing, or not one player losing, one player out. They had one player lose, one player injured, which is basically bad, which sucks. I understand that is basically tough, but it's stunning. I was basically stunned by this. I'm like, is that bad? Because I did not know how bad. I thought GCU was pretty good, but then I saw the record. I'm like, oh wait, they're not that good. So I'm trying to find how big of an upset this was, and it's just, oh my god, I just could not believe this. It's just so bad. I just could not believe it. So, and it was 3-2. It wasn't like a high scoring affair. So, yeah, that was the first game, but it got worse. So they had to play Liberty, and they had to win double. It was basically double elimination. So if you lose 2, then if you have to win 2 in order to advance. But if you lose one more along the way, you are gone, gone. And they had to play Liberty, which, if they lost that one, they were OUT out. And against Liberty, well, I'm just going to make this overly quick. They led 1-0 at the middle of the first inning, or in the middle of the third inning. Then the fourth inning, it was tied 1-1, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, please don't screw up, UCLA. You can't do this, UCLA. And then in the bottom of the 7th inning, UCLA lost it. Or, I'm sorry, not the bottom of the 7th. At the top of the 7th, Liberty scored, and off of an RBI single, and UCLA had 3 more outs to try to get one more run at least, but they couldn't. That was pretty much that. They were done. That was the end of their NCAA tournament. The number 2 overall seed failed to win one game, and they lost 2-1 to Liberty. I was just flabbergasted. I just couldn't believe it. I'm just perplexed by this. I just was so unbelievably. I just was like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. I just really need to know how big of an upset this was. Okay, I found it. So per NCAA.com, this was the biggest regional upset since 2005. Ouch. It sucks for UCLA. I don't even have a dog in this fight, but it really is heartbreaking for UCLA. I could really talk about the other teams, but for UCLA, they had high expectations. I don't want to rag on Long Beach State or San Diego State or Loyola Marymount or Cal State Fullerton, but UCLA is the golden standard in softball. And for them to lose, and in the first round or in the regionals, and to not even win one game and win 50-plus games, be the number 2 seed, and then you're out after losing to Grand Canyon and Liberty. That's it. It's disappointing. Again, I'm no softball expert, and I haven't been ultimately following UCLA all that much up until the Pac-12 tournament, but it's so surprising. And I understand UCLA has been battling injuries, but it's just so jaw-dropping that this team just got bounced in the first round. I at least expected them to get to a win-or-go-home game on the second in the second game in terms of a rubber match. I just could not believe this, and I'm just baffled by this. I'm just baffled as heck, dude. So, I'm sorry, UCLA. I now you know how the Chargers feel whenever they lose early in the playoffs. But I digress. So, if you all read in the description how disappointing was UCLA's loss in the NCAA tournament, it's pretty disappointing. I mean, now Oklahoma fans are probably going to come out the woodwork and flex on Twitter. I mean, losing to Grand Canyon is one thing, and then losing to Liberty is one thing, but if you have so much expectations when you're like one of the golden standards in softball, NCAA softball, you got to basically come up big. And even when you're battling injuries, you have to have those bats come up and come on. Otherwise, you're going to be at the mercy of the opposing team going forward. So, it sucks for the Bruins or the Lady Bruins, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just lose to the better team, or sometimes it's just not your day. So it happens with some teams, and this is just May Madness. That's just my thing. I'm no softball expert. I'm no bracketologist, but I'm just saying, like, UCLA, they just really pooped the bed. So there's that right there for UCLA softball. I will say this. Keep your heads up, ladies. For the seniors, it sucks. This is the worst moment in your athletic career, but this is not the worst moment in your lives. To the underclassmen, keep grinding, keep working hard. Just do everything you can to make sure that this never, ever, 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 ever happens again. And that's that pretty much for UCLA softball right there. So, jumping over to the Chargers, I'm just going to briefly talk about what happened with them. So, where we left off is their little schedule release. So, they actually signed somebody, and this one, they actually signed someone which is actually a defensive player. They signed Nick Williams, who is an 11-year veteran. Now, it wasn't the standard Ian Rappaport or whoever is the NFL guy that breaks the NFL news. It was actually Chase Daniel, the backup quarterback for the Chargers, that had the that broke the news on Twitter. He says he said, per source, the Chargers are signing former Giants defensive tackle Nick Williams to a 1-year deal. Entering year 11, Williams provides some key depth at a position of need for the Chargers. #BoltUp. I'm the source. Yeah, he even said, I'm the source. That's pretty funny. That tweet literally made my day. So, now, for me, I will say this. The Chargers are kind of in need of building up their defense. And I think signing Nick Williams is a solid key piece. It boosts the defensive line, and he's a former Pittsburgh Steeler, 7th-round pick, but he's appeared in 83 career games. He's started in 42. He started for the Giants, Lions, Bears, Dolphins, and Chiefs, and he started for the Chiefs and Dolphins in the postseason. And he's had 125 career tackles, 67 solo tackles with 7.5 sacks, 12 tackles for loss, as well as 7 passes defended and 2 fumble recoveries. And he was also part of that Bears team in 2019, which that wasn't really one of the better teams right there. But all in all, he did actually play in all 16 of their games, despite one of the Bears' not so great seasons. And he had a career high 6 sacks, which was actually the second most of any member of the Bears defense. So now for the Chargers, they kind of need, and I think this is kind of big just because he gets to reunite with Khalil Mack, because guess who was also on that 2019 team with Nick Williams? Khalil Mack. So now this is kind of a wait-and-see thing. Maybe this could work. Maybe this couldn't work. Maybe this is just a veteran signing. Maybe this is just to have someone on reserve just in case someone on the Chargers gets hurt, heaven forbid. Maybe this is to help bolster the defensive line to make sure Joey Bosa gets help, just because he gets held practically on every play. He even says so in his press conferences, hence the Jaguars postseason game where he practically dropped 2 F-bombs and an A-bomb. But I digress. And it provides veteran leadership in the defensive locker room. So I think this is a pretty good signing. Is he going to lead the Chargers to the Super Bowl right away? No, of course not. If he's not going to be a miracle for the Chargers in week 1. This is basically a wait-and-see process, and for me, the Chargers are still an anomaly. Now we will see what the Chargers could bring to the table going forward come week 1, or come training camp, or come preseason. I think they still have a lot of work to do. I think they're solid still. It's just all about putting those pieces all together in motion. Because you could have a lot of good pieces on your team, but if you're not putting them all together and they're not meshing together, it's not going to work out. And it's kind of like the Denver Broncos last year. They had all sorts of talent all across the board, but it just did not mesh well together. And sadly, it just couldn't pan out. So we'll see what happens with the Chargers. Again, I'm just hopeful Nick Williams can provide some good defensive spark. I think he can, just because the Chargers might have a young defense, but I think he'll provide some sort of relief for Joey Bosa, just in case some of the offensive line may double team Bosa, and then Nick Williams penetrates, and then he gets to the quarterback, and then boom, sack, and then it puts the offense behind the sticks and whatnot. So we'll see what happens with this signing. I think it can be a good signing. Again, it's just a wait-and-see process. I didn't even know what a Nick Williams was before this, but I imagine this can be a good signing. So for the Chargers, I think it's a good signing. Do I want to give it an A right away? No. But Kyle Van Noy, I can't compare Kyle Van Noy to Nick Williams. Kyle Van Noy was on a Patriots team which was fantastic. And I can't really compare Khalil Mack to Nick Williams or vice versa, just because Khalil Mack has been a beast his entire career. Nick Williams isn't quite up there yet. I don't think he's up there yet in period. So, again, it's just, we will wait and see. It's a time will tell process with this signing. But that's pretty much that for the latest Chargers news. I think, again, this was probably the biggest news so far. I don't think the Rams have had any big-time news as of late. But I guess no news is good news for the Rams. They've just gotten to see some of their whatchamacallits, their pieces in training camp. I did also see that the Chargers did sign most of their draft picks, except for Tuli Tuipulotu. I don't know if they've signed him just yet, but if they don't sign him, I pray to God they get him signed right away. Tuipulotu is a freaking dog, dude. The Chargers struck gold when they got him in the second round. If they don't sign him to his rookie contract right away, I'm going to scream. And I'm going to give Chargers Dum Dum of the Week for not doing so. But I digress. But that is that for the Chargers. In terms of the NFL in general, speaking of college and whatnot, I guess it is time to jump to college, and there was some unexpected college news. Mike Bohn, USC's athletic director, did actually resign in the middle of the week. So I was actually surprised by this news, and this was very, very surprising. And this actually happened this happened 2 days ago on Friday, and he resigned after circumstances over management. I guess someone in the media asked a question about his management, and here was his statement. After more than 40 years of college athletics leadership, it is the right time to step away from my position as Director of Athletics from USC, or the University of Southern California. I have dedicated my life to serving student athletes and advancing the enterprise of intercollegiate athletics. I will always be proud of leading the program out of the most tumultuous, if I mispronounce that, I'm sorry, tumultuous times in the history of the profession, and at USC with a restored reputation and national milestone accomplishments. I led the process to join the Big Ten Conference, hired marquee head coaches, Lincoln Riley, produced the highest graduation rate in school history, and won numerous national and conference championships. As a former student athlete myself, my purpose and identity are rooted in supporting young people as they pursue their athletic, academic, and personal goals. I have been fortunate to have had so many wonderful opportunities and met so many terrific people, and I depart wishing the very best to all with whom I worked and served. In moving on, it is important now that I focus on being present with my treasured family, addressing ongoing health challenges, and reflecting how I can be impactful in the future. So that is basically Mike Bohn's statement of why he stepped down. Okay, that's weird. So someone asked him about the management and whatnot, and it's weird. So my thing is this. Mike Bohn did an outstanding job. He basically brought USC back from the dead, especially in football. He brought Lincoln Riley to USC. If he doesn't bring Lincoln Riley to USC, then no one's really caring, and this is probably just a snooze fest, or everyone's probably celebrating Mike Bohn resigning. But Mike Bohn stepping down is kind of a heartbreaker, and I understand where he's getting at. He wants to spend more time with his family, and he wants to spend more time with his health and whatnot. And I do wish him the best going forward. But here's the thing for USC now. They have to strike gold when it comes to their new hire in terms of their athletic director. They cannot afford to whiff on this next hire. They have to hire someone who's experienced, who can get the job done, who basically has the street smarts to basically continue to pick up where Mike Bohn left off. Because if they don't hire the correct person, they will be back to square one before Mike Bohn hired Lincoln Riley. It'll just be like the dark days, and then everything is going to be basically a one step forward and a 20 steps back process. And that's not what us USC fans want. But I do wish Mike Bohn the best, and I do want to give him a SoCal Supreme Sports Show salute on everything he's done for USC, and I do want to give him the Big W award for all that he did, and regardless of what happened, whether he was asked on if his management was questioned, or if he's really stepping down because of his family and his health and whatnot, I do wish him the best going forward, and thank you, Mike Bohn, for all that you did. You saved USC. I will go as far as to say that, and fight on forever. You will always be a member of the Trojan family. SoCal Supreme Sports Show, salute to you, and here is a Big W award to you, brother. So on the topic of USC, LeBron James' son, Bronny James, actually committed to USC. I was very, very, very surprised that he committed to SC. SC over Oregon, Ohio State, and Alabama. All three of those schools were premier, except for maybe Oregon. Oregon didn't really make the NCAA tournament, I think. No, Oregon didn't make the NCAA tournament. So Bronny James is now going to be a USC Trojan. So all of the spotlight is now going to be on USC men's hoops, and man, that's going to be something. And USC men's hoops isn't really ultimately bad. I think USC men's hoops is actually going to be pretty decent this next season. They lose a few players because of graduation, yes, but they've got other players that are going to be coming in. And they also lost a few, and they did lose some players to the transfer portal, but that's why the transfer portal is there, to help replenish your roster and whatnot. So I think for USC, they've got a lot of players. They've got a lot of potential coming in, as LeBron James' son, Bronny James, signed his letter of intent on Thursday at Sierra Canyon High School, which is quite amazing. So, yeah, it's starting to get real, USC men's hoops fans. He is going to be a USC Trojan. So he went from Sierra Canyon Trailblazer and now he's going to be a USC Trojan. So Juju Watkins isn't the only Sierra Canyon Trailblazer that's going to SC. Bronny James is also going to SC as well. So, man. And in addition, it gets better for USC men's hoops fans. USC also picked up DJ Rodman from the transfer portal. And if you're putting 2 plus 2 together, DJ Rodman is Dennis Rodman's son. So Dennis Rodman Jr., but we just call him DJ. Now, I actually got to see Dennis Rodman Jr., or DJ Rodman, back when he was at Corona Del Mar High School. And then he transferred to J. Sarah. But he was actually pretty darn good. I never got to meet his dad, by the way, so don't ask if I met his dad. But he's actually pretty good. He's fairly quick, he can nail the 3-ball, and he's a lockdown defender, if you ask me. And he shoots well did I mention he shoots well from the perimeter? He shot 42.5% in Pac-12 play, and he drew 31 charges. Also, coincidentally, USC still has Kobe Johnson, who shot 39.2% from 3 in Pac-12 play, and he averaged 2.2 steals per game in the Pac-12. So, DJ Rodman and Kobe Johnson on USC. 2 really good two-way players. And then you also have to pair that up with Isaiah Collier, the number 1 freshman in the nation, arriving as, man, USC is really going to be stacked. Bronny James coming in from Sierra Canyon. Then you've got Isaiah Collier, the number 1 freshman in the nation. DJ Rodman coming in from Washington State. And then, who knows, maybe, hence the word maybe, Sebastian Rancic, who's coming in from Slovakia. He was on an official visit 5 days ago, but it's not official if he's committed, but it's an official visit. But we'll see. But for right now, USC men's hoops fans, you got to be really excited for this. I think this could be the year where USC men's hoops has dubious immortality. Now, I'm not going to say USC is going to win the national championship, just because there are other teams that are coming for that ring, like UCLA, even though they lose quite a bit, or UConn, even though no one wants to see UConn win anymore. No offense, UConn. There's also Alabama. And then there's North Carolina, probably. The list goes on and on. So we'll see what happens going forward. But for USC men's hoops, man, this is going to be quite the roster next year. And I'm feeling pretty giddy just thinking about that roster. So we'll see about the Trojans men's team going forward. I mean, you got to remember this past season. It was just a nightmare year where they lost in the first round to Michigan State. They could use all the help that they can get. All of the help they can get. But that'll do it for college news and for USC news. We're going to take ourselves a quick little commercial breaky break. When we come back, we're going to talk some MLB. And we got to celebrate IE Sports Radio somehow. So let's keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we are back with the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Sports Couple Perspective with Larry B. and Cecilia B. They had a great show on Friday, as well as the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax. I was actually a guest on the Buffalo Huddle this past Tuesday. Thank you, Patty Bax, for having me on the show. I greatly appreciate it. I enjoyed talking a little bit of volleyball, as well as a little bit of Chargers, and talk about the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And definitely check out Gloves Off, which goes bi-weekly every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Cale Henderson pops to the chat room. He says, "What's up, Teran? Lakers are in trouble." Yes, they are. At least the C's are going down with them, as the Celtics are down 30 to the Heat. I just thought I'd throw that out there. Cale says, "What would you think about the NBA Kings to Vegas?" Well, I mean, it'd be one less team in California, and I guess it would mean that... Here's my thing. Maybe change the Kings to the Las Vegas Royals, just so we're not getting the Kings in the NBA confused with the Kings in the NHL. Because back when I was like maybe a young little lad, I would get the Kings from the NBA confused with the Kings in the NHL mixed up. But I digress. But I wouldn't mind seeing the Kings get moved to Vegas. I think that would be good for you all. I think it could. I think NBA is long yearning for the NBA is long yearning for a Vegas team. So I think the Kings moving to Vegas would not be a bad idea. So I'd like that. Even though the Kings aren't really in the SoCal area, I think the Kings, I guess, would maybe... I guess the Kings maybe... If anything, y'all could take the Clippers. The Clippers are kind of... You could have the Clippers, possibly. Even though San Diego is probably for them. But we'll see. Anyway, so jumping on into the MLB of... Well, actually, no. Now that Cale actually jogged my memory a bit, thank you for reminding me, Cale, that the WNBA actually happened this past Friday, and the Sparks kicked off their season by giving a whooping to the Phoenix Mercury by defeating them 94-71, as it was quite the beatdown. I actually forgot that the WNBA kicked off. Though this was a Commissioner's Cup game, but it was definitely good to see the LA Sparks kick off the season 1-0, as the Sparks were led by Nneka Ogwumike, who had 17 points. Chenna Ogwumike, her sister, had 15 points. Lexi Brown added 14 points. And then off the bench, Zia Let Her Cook, a.k.a. Zia Cook, added 14 points. And then Carly Samuelson added 13 points, which, yeah, the Sparks really beat down the Phoenix Mercury. And if you're wondering who Carly Samuelson is, she is actually the older sister of Katie Lou Samuelson, who actually is not playing because she is pregnant. So, yeah, it was a good win for the Sparks. And I actually like having both Samuelson sisters. They're both from Southern California, by the way. They both played at Mater Dei. And wishing all the best to Katie Lou Samuelson, as she is not playing and she is still on the pregnancy list. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so that was the first game. Their next game, believe it or not, is actually on Thursday against Kale's Las Vegas Aces, aka the reigning WNBA champion Las Vegas Aces. So the Aces were actually the biggest thorn in the Sparks' side last season. We will see if the Sparks can actually handle the Aces this year, as the Sparks will be playing them at home this Thursday at the Crypto.com Arena. And they also get to play them this upcoming Saturday as well. So back-to-back matches, back-to-back games against the Aces. That's going to be tough. And then they also have the Phoenix Mercury next Friday, so it's a Commissioner's Cup game. So they've got a few more of those until they face the Chicago Sky on June 9th. So that's just pretty much the cusp of the Los Angeles Sparks season. That's pretty much just the beginning of their season. But it is good that they started the season 1-0. Always good to have that 1-0 start, especially with Zia Cook. I think Zia Cook is going to be great, and her coach, Dawn Staley from South Carolina, was at the game as well. And I think that was a great humblesome moment. But I actually do want to give another Big W award out. Well, I actually also want to acknowledge the people that was at this game. Even though it wasn't as packed as the standard Laker game, the capacity was 55%, which I think is pretty good for a WNBA game. I think we got to get the WNBA more recognition, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens. But I actually do want to give a Big W award out to Phoenix Mercury's Brittany Griner, who actually played it in her first game ever since. We all know what happened. I'm not going to go into what detail of what happened, but ever since she came back from that complete nightmare. But Brittany Griner of the Phoenix Mercury led the way for the Phoenix Mercury with 18 points and 6 rebounds. She was 7 for 9 from the field. I know the Phoenix Mercury isn't Southern California, but I do want to give Brittany Griner a Big W award just because this was her first game back from all that fiasco that happened overseas. And I'm happy she is back, and I know everyone's going to have their own opinions, but I'm just glad she's back. So it's just a pick up the pieces process for her, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, so that is that for the Los Angeles Sparks. They opened the season 1-0, but now they have the Las Vegas Aces this week, and then to close out the first week of Commissioner's Cup, or the first 2 weeks of Commissioner's Cup play, they've got the Phoenix Mercury next week. So we'll see what happens. Right now, let's jump on into some MLB play. So the Dodgers to me, they are still doing their thing. They're still ahead of the NL West, but it's kind of been a little bit of a rocky road for them, which it's not been bad, but it hasn't been all that great, as they recently struggled against the St. Louis Cardinals of all teams, but more on that later. So we'll pick up with the Padres. We'll start off on, I think we left off with the Brewers on Monday, where the Brew Crew versus the Blue Crew, as they actually won 2 of 3 against the Brewers. They lost the first game 9-3, and then won the next 2 6-2 and 8-1 on the 9th and the 10th of May. Then against the Padres, this was at Dodger Stadium. They actually swept the San Diego Padres, very surprisingly, 4-2 last Friday, 4-2 last Saturday, and then 4-0 on Sunday. So 4 seemed to have been the magic number for the Dodgers. last week against the Padres. So quite phenomenal if you ask me. Then this past week against the Minnesota Twins, they actually took 2 of 3 against the Twins, though I think they maybe could have swept them, but Rome wasn't built in a day. Dodgers won the first game 9-8 off of a walk-off walk in the 12th inning. Yeah, bases were loaded. The count was 3-2, and ball 4 was to the Dodgers, and then that was how the Dodgers won, off of a walk-off walk. So that was this past Monday. On Tuesday, the Dodgers lost to the Twins 5-1, which was not good. And then on Wednesday, the Dodgers won the rubber match against the Twins 7-3, which was a great feather in their cap. But this past weekend was a hideous weekend as they lost 3 out of 4 to the St. Louis Cardinals. Now you're probably wondering, well, why is that a bad thing? Well, the Cardinals aren't really one of the better teams. They're not as bad as they previously were, but that's pretty bad if you ask me, losing to the Cardinals. They're sub 500, and in a division like the AL West, you can't really afford to lose too many to like these knockoff teams. In the National League entirely, you can't afford to basically like not win these games that you're supposed to win. Like, you have to win these games like you're supposed to. And I even said it on the previous show. The Dodgers could possibly have a good chunk of wins going into this next few weeks. Unfortunately, they lost this past Thursday 16-8. 16-8. Ouch. Why are the Dodgers losing that much to the Cardinals of all teams? Like, Julio Urias was just not good. On Friday, the Dodgers did win 5-0 against the Cardinals. Then they lost a heartbreaker on Saturday, 6-5, and then today they lost 10-5, which was horrible. So this week, the Dodgers have a 3-game series against the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta, starting on Monday, going all the way through Wednesday. Then the Dodgers will stay in the South to play the Tampa Bay Rays. If I'm a Dodgers fan, I would not say anything about this being a World Series preview. I think this is going to be a great matchup entirely, but it's certainly not going to be a World Series preview, as the Dodgers play the Rays on Friday at 3:40 p.m. Pacific Time, Saturday at 1:10 p.m. Pacific Time, and then Sunday at 8:35 a.m. Pacific Time. So you're going to have your coffee on that day. And then on Memorial Day, and then next Tuesday and next Wednesday, the Dodgers head back to the Chavez Ravine to play the Washington Nationals. So there's that for the Dodgers right there, who are the best of the bunch in terms of the SoCal MLB teams. Jumping over to the Angels. So the Angels have kind of been a little... They're still that meh team, where we left off in terms of the Angels, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Cleveland Guardians. They won the first game 5-4, but lost the next 2. Well, this was last Friday. And then last Saturday and last Sunday, they lost 8-6 and then 4-3 last Sunday, which was horrible. Then they split their series against the Baltimore Orioles, which isn't bad, considering the Orioles are actually pretty good, as they won the first game 9-5 on last Monday. Tuesday, they lost 7-3. Wednesday, they lost 3-1, which they probably could have won that one, but I digress. And then Thursday, they won 6-5. Then Friday through Sunday, they won 2 of 3 against the Twins, kind of like the Dodgers did. They won on Friday 5-4. Yesterday they lost 6-2, and then today they won 4-2. So, looking at the week for this week, the Angels are back at the Big A to take on the Boston Red Sox, and then they have Thursday off. Friday they welcome the Miami Marlins. And then next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they head up to the Windy City to take on the struggling Chicago White Sox. Currently in the standings, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are in the middle of the AL West, where they're I'm sorry. I just saw something. I saw a joke one time where I'm sorry. Okay, I gotta get this joke out of the way, and I'm sorry if the explicit tag isn't up. So one time someone made an acronym in terms of the AL West. It was the A's, which had AS, then the Seattle Mariners logo, which had an S, and then the Houston Astros logo, which had an H, and then the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim logo, which had an A, and then the Texas Rangers logo, which had a T. So let me spell that out again. The Oakland A's logo, which had an A and then apostrophe S, and then the Seattle Mariners logo, which had an S, and then the Houston Astros logo, which had an H, and then the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim logo, which had an A, and then the Texas Rangers logo, which had a T. If you're putting that all together and you're spelling that, you know what I'm talking about. I blame the internet for basically teaching me these horrible acronyms. I'm sorry, and I can't put this, and I can't say this on the air, but it's just pretty funny. It's just so funny. Y'all can figure it out yourselves. Just look up AL West acronym on Twitter. You'll get your answer. All right. Before I lose my mind here, and before I lose my focus anymore, let's jump to the San Diego Padres. Now, the Padres, believe it or not, they're actually the worst team of the SoCal teams. And this is a surprise because the Padres actually had good expectations going in. Some people thought that they were actually going to dethrone the Dodgers just because the Padres have good returning key pieces. Some thought the Dodgers lost a lot of key pieces and that bringing back Dave Roberts was a bad thing. But now the Padres are going in the opposite direction, and we all saw what happened with the Dodgers-Padres series where the Padres straight up got spanked. So after that series where the Dodgers straight up swept the Padres actually lost 2 of 3 to the Kansas City Royals. 2 of 3 to the Royals. They won the first game 4-0. All this took place at Petco Park, by the way. But then the Royals won the next 2 games 5-4 and 4-3. I'm just perplexed by this. How did the Royals, who are one of the worst teams in the MLB, beat the Padres? Just sickening if you ask me. But San Diego gonna San Diego, I guess. No offense to any San Diego listeners, of course. So after the Padres had a Thursday off, they stayed at home to take on the Boston Red Sox. They lost 2 of 3 to the Boston Red Sox. They lost the first game 6-1, lost the second game 4-2, but then they won the third game, salvaging a win in the series 7-0. But those losses aren't doing the Padres any favors as they're getting lower and lower in the National League West, but more on that later. Anyway, the Padres hit the road to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Nationals on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Then on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Padres hit the road to the Big Apple to take on Dodge Yankees, as Big Papi would say. Big Papi David Ortiz. And then on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then going all the way to June 1st, aka Thursday, the Padres travel to the Sunshine State to take on the Miami Marlins. So there is that right there for the Padres, and here's hoping they could salvage some wins because they are now the second worst teams in the National League West, or the NL West, and that's not good. They're behind San Francisco, which that's even more concerning. Why are you behind the Giants of all teams? Ew. Padres, you're supposed to be better than this, man. Like, come on now. I almost felt like giving you Dum Dum of the Week for this whole thing. Gosh dang it, man. Anyway, that's that for the Padres. Before I get into Dum Dum of the Week, I do have to celebrate iSports Radio being on the air for 9 years and counting. So, to celebrate iSports Radio's 9 years on the air, I have to go over the top 9, some of the 9 big-time sporting events in Southern California, or 9 memorable sporting events that happened in Southern California, or any Southern California team that happened within the last 9 years. So anything past, like, we're in 2023, anything past 2014 is basically a fat NO. So I guess we'll start, and I can't use the SoCal Supreme Sports Show going live on the air as one, or iSports Radio going live as a whole as one. So, anyway, we might as well start off with the Rams winning the Super Bowl back in 2021. Like, that was a big-time thing. I'm sorry, it was 2022. So that was last year. So that was last calendar year. They won it in SoFi Stadium. So that's big because the Rams won it. They're from Los Angeles. And then it was big time because the Super Bowl was held in SoFi, which is in Carson, California, or Southern California. Either way, yeah, that was a big time event that the Rams won it. That was a big-time Southern California sporting event that took place in the world of SoCal sports, which was huge. Larry B adds in the chat room, the Storm winning it all last year. Absolutely, that was another big-time sporting event. That the Lake Elsinore Storm winning it all, which was big-time. Which was big time right there. That was a big time event last year. And then we got to take it back to 2020. Now, 2020 was obviously a dark year not dark year, but it was just a year where we'd like to forget about the bad. But there was some good that happened in 2020, such as the Lakers winning the NBA championship. And they won it for Kobe Bryant, which, well, that was just awesome. And I was so happy the Lakers won the NBA championship for him, and thank goodness the Lakers won because now they are even with the Boston Celtics for a number of championships in terms of the NBA. I know the Lakers are probably going to get their goose cooked tomorrow, but hey, at least the Celtics are going down with them. Anyway, but winning that or the NBA championship was quite nice. I know people are still gonna whine and complain about the bubble, but I do not care. It was still phenomenal that they won it. And look at the teams that won in the bubble back then now. They're still going strong this year. Yes, there's been roster turnover and whatnot, but I don't care. The bubble still counts. So screw those that say the bubble doesn't count. Then we got to jump to 2000 and that same year, and probably 1 week after, where the Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series over the Tampa Bay Rays, which was also amazing. Now I know there was some sort of like controversy with Justin Turner not being able to go onto the field, and then he went onto the field and whatnot. But honestly, I know there were tough times with COVID, but honestly, he should have gone onto the field. I think he just should have been with personnel, or there should have been like some sort of technology which should have allowed him to just be masked up. And it was just crazy times back then. So the Dodgers winning the World Series back in 2020 was also another big-time event that happened. And honestly, winning that World Series was huge. I don't care if it was a shortened season. Like, say what you want about the Dodgers and that season. I think it was still a great year for the Dodgers, and them winning it all and having to come back from a 3-1 deficit against the Atlanta Braves was just straight up amazing. So it was also the year the Angels nearly made the playoffs, but just could not. So continuing on, so I want to say it was like 1 or 2 years after that where USC hired Lincoln Riley as their head football coach. So obviously USC was in an identity crisis in terms of trying to get back to relevancy. Clay Helton was just not the guy to get them back to relevancy, and they eventually let Clay Helton go after USC was beaten down. I remember seeing that USC game, or at least seeing the scores of that USC game. It was actually the night where I PA announced one of Larry B's semi-pro football games, which was cool. I think it was the one where I think Larry and his team won 12-8. If not, it was against the other one. But I digress. So eventually, USC then athletic director Mike Bond hired Lincoln Riley, and man, that was a great hire from Mike Bond. If he doesn't make that hire, USC does not get out of the darkness. I want to say that hiring alone saved USC, and I really think that Mike Bond is the hero for that. So honestly, it was just amazing. And yeah, Larry said that. And yeah, it was against the Scorpions. So it was that game where I think it was that. Actually, no, it wasn't that game. I do remember now. It was the other. It was the other game that I PA announced. But we're not going to get into that. We're talking about USC. So I'm sorry, Larry B. But I guess I could talk a little bit about that. But just to close the book on Mike Bond hiring Lincoln Riley. Mike Bond hiring Lincoln Riley as the USC football coach was just straight up amazing. And even getting praises from Nick Saban of Alabama is just amazing. Like, this was a home run hire when Nick Saban is saying the biggest competition in terms of recruiting is Lincoln Riley. Like, that's big time praise from a competitor right there. And you got to remember, Alabama snags all sorts of recruits. They even snagged recruits from California. If you all remember, Bryce Young was actually supposed to go to USC, and then he flipped his commitment to Alabama. And I told Larry and a few other of my USC buddies, well then. And that was that. Now he's the number 1 pick. Which is actually a perfect segue to go to the next event. Bryce Young being the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Now, I know this isn't really like a true Southern California event, but he is a SoCal kid, and I know he didn't play college football in Southern California, but the dude balled out at Mater Dei. He was just a straight-up baller, and he brought Alabama to relevancy for the most part, following Mac Jones's departure. I think Bryce Young is going to do great things for the Carolina Panthers. And I do wish him the best going forward, and I think he's a real cool cat. So we'll see if Bryce Young can do it this year with the Carolina Panthers. And then I guess I might as well just discuss me PA announcing for the Southern California Warriors. When I first heard about the Southern California Warriors, I was like, where is the Southern California Warriors located? And then I was like, I one day want to attend this event and meet the Larry B in person. And I eventually did. I made a goal to do that, and eventually I accomplished that goal. And then boom, I was able to meet him in person. And the first game that I got to see him play was against the Desert Scorpions, which they actually won 12-8. It was 12-6 at halftime, and no one scored any offensive points, and defense had to win was the name of the game in the second half. And I want to say that the the SoCal Warriors took a safety on purpose just so the other team could get the ball back and they could chew up more clock and whatnot. So, yeah, it was a great game, and it was quite fun. And honestly, it was great meeting the family as well. And and I will just say this, I'm glad I got to meet you in person because you never know what could happen nowadays. All right, so there's just 2 more events that happened. I could probably name a whole lot of events, but we have to go with San Diego State making it all the way to the national championship in men's basketball. So San Diego State hasn't really had a whiff of possibly being in a championship game since, heck, maybe them having a men's volleyball team back in the 70s when they beat Long Beach State. But then their men's basketball team advanced to the championship game this past season off of a game-winning shot against FIU. It was probably one of the most amazing moments. I remember being at home and just flipping the game on right when I was done with my afternoon errands. And it was like the final minute of the game. I'm like, come on, San Diego State, please find a way to win. And they got the stop on the other end, and I'm like, you could do it, Aztecs. Just don't jack up a 3. And they didn't jack up a 3. And they put up the final shot, and splash. Just pandemonium, chaos. And I remember texting one of my friends who is a big San Diego State fan, San Diego State graduate, and he was like, he just said, one shining moment. That's all we needed. And that was just amazing. I know San Diego State lost in the national championship game to UConn, but no one expected San Diego State to go that far. I didn't even expect them to go to the national championship game. Everyone and their mamas had UCLA going to the national championship game. San Diego State men's basketball was what UCLA was supposed to be. It was just so amazing. Like, San Diego State men's basketball was so special. That was just such an outstanding moment, and I just could not believe that. So, that is just another big-time moment from Southern California. So, whoo, man. And I remember just screaming so loud. I was like, oh my goodness. He just made the game-winning basket, and I was just randomly tweeting out, like, just pressing buttons on my keyboard on Twitter, saying, so it was just an amazing moment right there. So that's that for, so there was that moment right there. And then the last moment in terms of, like, memorable Southern California moments, and there's just quite a number of moments. There's just too many to pick from. I guess I can go with this one. And this is no offense to UCLA, but I gotta go with USC beach volleyball three-peating. Now, this is a rarity. I did not know this prior to this, but USC's beach volleyball team became the first female team sport at USC to three-peat. There had been no other team in USC history in terms of female sports to three-peat. USC beach volleyball was the first team to three-peat, and they have 5 out of 7 NCAA championships. And the fact that no one even predicted them to even get to the championship, let alone to repeat. I'm pretty sure some people probably had them getting to the championship, but I don't think anyone probably had them beating UCLA. And with how TCU was just doing so great and how TCU beat USC prior, I think no one really predicted SC to come out on top in the semifinals. But USC defied the odds. They had the Norse Twins just sealing the victory against TCU, and then the Norse Twins sealed the victory against UCLA, and now it's a three-peat. And as USC's beach volleyball team said it on Twitter and Instagram, it was sweeter than maple kisses. So that was the last moment on the 9 moments that I remember, my 9 memorable moments in terms of Southern California sports. So there was that right there. If you have your 9 memorable Southern California sports memories that you've experienced or you've witnessed, definitely do drop them in the comment section or just drop them in the chat below. Now we have to get to the dum-dum of the week. Oh boy. So we've had our dum-dum, we've had our amazing moments, but now we have to get on into the dum-dum of the week. So the dum-dum of the week goes out to an organization or a person or anyone that does something that is dumb or just is flat out unacceptable. And no one is safe from this award. Now, I could just give this award to the LA Galaxy and we could be done with this show. Or I could give this award to the Lakers just because they're down 0-3. But that wouldn't be fun. But we have to give this award out to an organization who is basically weighing down a division that someone in Southern California is in. And let's jump back to the MLB. So remember how I was talking about the AL West and how there was the acronym of that. So you look at the bottom of the AL West. It's the Oakland A's. You want to know what's sad? I know you're all thinking the Oakland A's are the worst team in the league. Yes. But you want to know what's worse? Their run differential. The run differential is muy malo. So it's so bad that it's weighing the division down in terms of overall run differential. It's very, very, very bad. So if you're all keeping track here, the division leader, Texas, has a run differential of 108. Houston, the second place team, has a run differential of 38, which I'm surprised it's actually that low. The Angels have a run differential of 7, which is disappointing, even though they're in third place. And then the Seattle Mariners have a run differential of 18, which for a fourth place team, that's pretty wimpy. Now, as for the Oakland A's, their run differential is a grand total of, can we get a drum roll, please? 168. I'm not kidding you. The Oakland A's run differential is negative 168. So altogether, the AL West has a run differential of 3. 3. And it's all thanks to the Oakland A's having a run differential of negative 168. Every other team has a positive run differential, except for the Oakland A's. And I saw the statistic on Twitter, and one of my friends who's a Mariners fan is like, the Oakland A's are bringing down the AL West. And I'm just thinking to myself, thanks, Oakland A's. Oh, my goodness. I think the Kings aren't the only one that needs to be moved to Las Vegas. The Oakland A's need to be moved to Las Vegas ASAP, because that's just flat out unacceptable. I understand the Central Division has a worse run differential, but all their teams are like sub 500. That can't be helped, especially with the Royals and the White Sox. Like, that can't be helped. And the NL East, that's kind of a lost cause, even though the Mets and Marlins are slightly above 500. And the Central is kind of a little, especially with Milwaukee's -2 run differential, even though they lead the division. But still, negative 162, and every other team, including the Angels, has a positive run differential. That's when you know you've hit rock bottom, Oakland A's. And I'm not bagging on the Oakland A's just because they're the worst team in the league or they're from NorCal. I'm bagging on them because they're making the AL West look so bad. It's really, 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 really disappointing. And I know it's not the fault of the players, but get it together, Oakland. Or should I say, soon to be Las Vegas. Like, this is just straight up sad. I feel for Oakland A's fans who are actually diehard fans and who have been with this team for now until probably the end of time. But unfortunately, I kind of don't feel bad just because, well, you're stuck with these guys up until heaven knows what happens. But for the Oakland A's, who have a negative run differential of 168 and who are making the AL West look bad, which includes the beloved Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, even though they are just as bad with wasting away Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani's career, you're kind of this week's Dumb Dumb of the Week award recipient.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that's kind of Dumb Dumb of the Week award number 1. I also kind of have to give Dumb Dumb of the Week award number 2 to someone I gave Dumb Dumb of the Week award to previously. And that's Ja Morant. Now, I hate to give him Dumb Dumb of the Week award again. I was kind to him the first go-around, but the dude kind of made a mistake. Again. The dude keeps making mistakes, and he says he's sorry, but it's like, you still did it. I've watched quite a bit of Law & Order, and I forget the actor's name. It's Scaviano, or Scav... I forget his name, but he's the guy with the slicked back hair. It's Law & Order Special Victims Unit. But the guy one time said, well, you apologized and you said you deeply regret it, but you still did it. Well, Ja Morant, that's kind of what Ja Morant's situation is. You regret it and you say you're sorry, but you still did it. So, if you're really sorry, Ja Morant, you would not do it. You would not even consider doing this whole thing, and you would just actually listen to your fans, and you would actually just get the right help. I'm sorry, dude, but you're just digging yourself a bigger hole to the point where you can't dig yourself out of. And it's sad when you're getting dunked on by everybody, and everyone who wants to help you is straight up basically doing their best to help you, but you're just straight up blocking them out. And it's even getting worse to the point where Memphis Grizzlies is basically... I don't know what the Memphis Grizzlies did. I think they're basically like pushing you away from like team activities or whatnot. But you get the rest. Like Ja Morant is kind of in... I wouldn't say he's in deep trouble, but he just keeps doing not so great things. It's not good things. I'm just going to leave it at that. And he keeps landing himself on Dumb Dumb of the Week. It's like... He's like the recurring shacking a fool guy, except he's doing a lot of shacking a fool moments, which could cost him his career. And I want Ja Morant to do good in the NBA. I used to really like Ja Morant coming out of college. Out of Murray State, he was so phenomenal. He used to be one of the most likable people in the NBA, likable players in the NBA. Now he's starting to make himself a bad name, and he's turning himself into a negative influence. And for what? Just for street cred? Just for clout? Just so he could be, what, Mr. Tough Guy and Mr. Hood Boy? I don't get it. I have never gotten that. And he's gotten dunked on, no pun intended, by... Not Skip Bayless, but Shannon Sharp. Shannon Sharp, Uncle Shannon, kind of had to dunk on him and basically try to get his mind right. But for the love of all that is holy, please, Ja Morant, stop being dumb. Please just actually get the help that you need, and please don't do anything dumb. This is your second strike. I promise you, I'm not going to hold back if you get strike 3. But this is your second strike, and now that you have earned your second strike, you are this week's Dumb Dumb of the Week award number 2. But I will also say this to Ja Morant, please, please, please seek the correct help. But you are this week's Dumb Dumb of the Week numero 2.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Oh, we gotta get the Kawhi Leonard laugh in. Come on, Kawhi, you gotta get your laugh in there soon. But anyway, that is gonna do it for the Dumb Dumb of the Week Awards segment. And ladies and gentlemen, that is gonna do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for me to get on out of here, because I got me some dinner to have. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I really appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I really appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I really do appreciate you. Shout out to my boy Larry B, who listened. Thank you. I really do appreciate you. I promise you all, this Friday at noon Pacific time, I will be back on my regularly scheduled time, and that's where I will be. But I will also be on tomorrow at noon Pacific time, just because, for set point, just because I have a banquet to attend to. So it's going to be tricky with set point now, but I can make it work. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Once again, happy 9-year anniversary to IE Sports Radio. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy all the SoCal sports action, even though the Lakers are down 3 games to nothing to the Denver Nuggets. But enjoy everything else that's SoCal sports action. It is getting closer and closer to summer. If not, it is starting to become more summery. If not, it might be summer already. So pack your sunscreen. Just please be aware of the sun and its beaming rays. Even when it's not sunny and it's cloudy, you still could get sunburned. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Don't do anything dumb that could land you on Dumb Dumb the Week. And I will see you tomorrow at noon for Set Point. Have a great week, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!